Hi, friends. Susan Blackwell from the Spark File here to let you know that the doors are open for the Spark File Illume, a 9-month group creativity coaching mastermind that invites you to be the Chief Creative Officer and Chief Marketing Officer of your creativity. But what does that mean? That means in 9 months in Illume, you will clarify and advance your big creative goals and learn how to effectively share your work with the world. Now, if you're listening to this and you're an experienced creative or an accomplished professional who seeks a space where it is safe to attempt something you've never tried before, or complete a big creative project, or take your work to the next level and acquire the skills needed to share your creative work with the world, Illume might be right for you. We are calling in emotionally intelligent, high-functioning creatives who are ready to level up. You can find out more by going to thesparkfile.com/Illume, but do it now to find out if Illume is right for you and to save with early bird discounts. That's thesparkfile.com/Illume. Take a leap, take a risk. Go to thesparkfile.com/Illume and join us for Illume.
The Sparkfile podcast may contain profanity and other adult content.
Please use your discretion.
When I bump into something that inspires me, I dump it in my spark file. Could be something that I want to make or how I want to be. I pump it in my spark file. I jump into my spark file. Let's open up the spark file.
Welcome to the Spark File, where we believe that everyone is creative, but smart creative people don't do it alone.
I'm Laura Camion.
And I'm Susan Blackwell. If you're joining us for the first time, you are so welcome. But you may be asking yourself, what exactly is a Spark File? Where do I get a Spark File? What do I file in my Spark File? These are such good questions, and we actually do have answers.
We do. A Spark File is the place where you consistently collect all your inspirations and fascinations. And if you're like us and you're making stuff all the time or want to be making stuff all the time, you know the wellspring of inspiration can run a little dry. We're here to refill it.
That's right, babies. We are on the lookout for fresh ideas, images, and inspiration that spark our creativity and pique our curiosity, things that inspire us to rise up off of our asses and make things like this very podcast.
Or a series of short films with your best friends.
Or a campaign to get behind a local politician you love.
Or a show poster that is itself a work of art.
Or some sweet-ass dance moves.
On today's Makersode, we're going to talk with someone who truly sparks us.
And that special someone is John Bowman Early. John Early, welcome to the Spark File.
John!
Hello.
We want to start by asking, where are you right now? Please provide your full street address.
Absolutely. Here we go.
And how are you right now for reals?
Okay, let's see. I am in Los Angeles, where I moved maybe 4 years ago.
You're a real showbiz type.
I am. It's so interesting. I really think we could devote the whole hour to the differences between New York and LA if you guys are down.
I'm totally down for that.
Some versus comedy.
100%.
West Coast versus East Coast comedy. I would love it.
And then, that's where I am. I'm in Los Angeles, and I'm sitting in the room in my quote unquote office. It really has yet. I moved here in June, so it's kind of not fully inhabited yet.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's a house I see you in when you do interviews and stuff that is it the same house you were in when you filmed the short film Rachel? Or is it that house?
It's not, but that was the place I lived for 4 years, and then I moved here. So I was just there.
Oh, wow.
It's similar to that in vibe. It's kind of cottagey and sweet and like tree housey. which is really
What I was picturing, just for what it's worth, what I was picturing was more just like glass, concrete, and stone. like you moved on up. You moved away from stucco and alcoves, and you moved into that.
Just Neil Patrick Harrison, Gone Girl.
Just cold and lonely.
Yeah.
American Psycho. That's the vibe.
There you are.
Yes.
Now we have the picture.
Top of the world.
Where are you guys?
Oof. Well,
whoa.
Suze is on the side of a mountain.
I'm on the side of John, I live on the side of a mountain now.
Where?
When I was like, I don't want to do 8 shows a week of anything. I was like, as long as I can get to location or to get to my work, I can live anywhere. And so I took my introverted ass and moved to the side of a mountain. Camian, where do you live?
Well, I'm most frequently in New York City, but for the duration of the pandemic, I have been in sunny Florida. So I like to bounce back and forth, but, during a pandemic, I like to hang here.
I love that technology has brought us all together, though.
I know, it's
sincerely.
and so seamlessly on an audio level.
And so seamlessly. And John, but for reals, the second part of that 2-parter is, how are you? How has
I was trying to swiftly navigate away from the second question. No, I'm kidding. No. Where do you guys live? How are you? No, I'm actually pretty good. I feel like I've been in a kind of just flattened. I've kind of been ping-ponging between just like total despair or just kind of a flat kind of.
I feel like you just did, and we'll talk about this more, but you just did a big heavy lift. Like, I feel like you, throughout the election, you worked really hard. I feel like you expended a lot of creative energy. And so are you a little bit like just wrung out from that?
Well, honestly, to get right into it, I mean, first of all, that is the answer to your first question. That particular
we like
project.
to write the answers, ask the questions and the answers. That's what we like to do. It's our specialty.
But I actually feel like that was very. I feel corny saying this, but it was actually very nourishing creatively on a politically everything. It was like touching in with just someone who is an actual like public servant and like someone who, I mean, there was a total alignment of like my kind of like very poorly formed politics, but like, what I know of my own politics completely aligned with Marquita Bradshaw, who we're talking about. It was a very, it felt very good because I also hadn't used a lot of those like muscles in a while because of the pandemic. And I am really happy when I am like producing, when I'm like getting the gang together and making a video.
And you're so good at it.
Thank you, Susan. And especially when I'm like not, doing it with kind of overlords, like corporate overlords, where it's like with my friends and when everyone's kind of in the right spirit and there's a sense of like excitement about it. And there was so much to be excited about with Marquita. And so it was very, it felt incredible. Like that was actually a profoundly cathartic experience.
Yeah.
So Marquita was running for U.S. Senate in Tennessee. Is that correct?
Yes.
And can I just ask you and you may have answered this publicly, and I apologize if I'm making you repeat yourself, but how did you come to find her, and how did what moved you? Because you went, talk about the SparkFile price of admission. This is a big creative risk that, I don't know if I'd call it. You swung for that question, Sue. This may not be, but in my observation, you swung for the fences. Yes. Like you went all in and put what seemed, if you have more capacity than the capacity you expended on the work that you did on that campaign, then you are a gifted human. But it seems like you put all of your energy for a period of time behind that work that you were doing. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I mean, it is like, and it was also, it was really thrilling to realize that the my kind of creative skills that I've developed over the years could actually be of use. Like
Transferable
there is
skills,
so
yeah.
much. It was actually transferable instead of this thing of like, okay, I'm very out of my comfort zone, and because I've done a lot of these kind of like, I've encouraged people to phone bank, or like I did a video on like canvassing, and I was like horrified. Like we had my friend shot this video of me canvassing in like the 2018 the midterms, and like I literally, the point of the video was that I did not know what I was doing. Like I'm not a policy wonk, I'm not like, I was completely out of my depth.
Real-time learning in the video.
Yes. And it was embarrassing. And I was like, oh God, I'm really hoping my charm takes over. And and I was honestly like too hungover for even the charm to like take over. I was like, okay, well, the charm's not coming. I literally can't string a sentence together. And I literally have no idea what I'm talking about. And like the camera was rolling as I'm talking to these like total strangers about their like, about what, like what they're concerned about in the election. They would say something like, cool. Like I had nothing to, it was a disaster. The video's fine, but like, it was nice to actually, I was like, this is actually something I'm good at. I'm good at like I'm good at like seeing star quality in people. It's such an embarrassing thing to say, but like
recognize talent.
I can. And like, I saw that in Marquita, and like, I felt like I actually trusted myself more making this video than I would trust a random like PR firm that the campaign would hire, because no one, I just don't trust those people actually also to have the kind of, to understand what's special about her, both personally and politically, And like she basically, she came, I was, still in the process of grieving Bernie losing in the primary. And like, I had not even heard of her, even though I'm from Tennessee, and no one had heard of her. She had no ad money. She she like went up against this like establishment backed Democrat who had millions, literally 2 million, over 2 million in his campaign. And he, not only did she beat him with only $22,000, she knocked him down to third place. Like he didn't, and to me, I'm just like, I'm always looking for stories like this, where like police politically, for me, it's like, I always want people to realize that like money does not make movements. Money does not make political movements. And like the only way we're ever going to get out of our like partisan chokehold is through actually people who are on the ground talking to people. And like, I'm paraphrasing like a tweet I read the other night, but it's like people who are actually helping people connect the material conditions of their lives to policymakers, because like we're never going to get anywhere unless you have someone like Marquita, who has been doing this for 25 years, going door to door and being like, okay, the reason, like, so let's talk about the pandemic. Let's talk about this like economic depression we're about to face. Like, like you are entitled to healthcare. Like you are entitled to, we just need people like deprogramming people who are so brainwashed by the American dream. And like Marquita is someone who has like lived a crazy life. She grew up next to this toxic landfill in South Memphis, poisoned her whole community. And she's spent the past like 25 years doing environmental activism and organizing around this like toxic landfill and like and protecting her community. And then she also was in union organizing, and she's just an actual working person, so she actually can speak to these things. And she has done such a beautiful job of helping people understand, and I'll stop talking about this in a second, but she's done such a beautiful job of helping people understand that like it makes how just insane it is that Congress is full of just insanely rich people making decisions about incredibly vulnerable, like working people. And so to me, in this kind of the wake of my grief about Bernie, I was like, I couldn't, and also the Charles Booker thing in Kentucky was so tremendous. I was like so excited by the idea of this person, like with an actual movement behind him. And he really could have won his primary had people found out about him sooner, but he didn't have money. Like he didn't have the literally almost $100 million that Amy McGrath had. So like I saw the Marquita thing happen in Tennessee. I saw an article about it, about her primary win. And I was like, holy shit, like if I can try to make a big stink about her online, hopefully like she can have some more momentum going into the the thing, the election.
You know, on this podcast, we talk so much about keeping your eyes open and keeping your heart open and just catching those sparks of inspiration when they float by. And instead of just being like, oh, that would be cool, and then forgetting about it and being like, what should we make for dinner? Like actually like keying into it. And if it really moves you in a visceral way, fucking doing something about it, making something out of it. And I feel like you, in reading that article, caught a spark. Did you just reach out to their campaign? Like, how did that happen?
Well, my sister actually now lives in Nashville again, where we grew up, and she was like really excited about Marquita too, and was like, I'm gonna reach out to the campaign and like see what I can do, and it's a very small campaign, so like it was truly a grassroots campaign. So they had, it's not that inaccessible. It's not hard to like get in touch with them, and
got it, yeah.
And so she basically like set up a call where she was with me and like the finance director, and it was really, and I had no kind of, I was like, I'll do a couple targeted posts. I was like not, I didn't really know how I felt about like my involvement. And this is where we get into the question of like, what's the risk, or like a recent risk that you took was like, there was obviously something profoundly terrifying to me. I mean, maybe not obviously, but to me, it was really scary to, I've experienced like being like so high on caffeine and giving interviews where I'm talking about my politics, and then literally 3 months later my politics being like 180 degrees, like just completely different. Yeah. And so there's something really terrifying, as I'm sure you can relate to, about like,
I can,
not even
pinning
just politics.
It in time.
Exactly. Like, that's the hell of being creative.
That's right.
Is like, you're like committing to like the public record, like your point of view. And then 4 months later, you're like, oops, like I fully don't believe that, And so there's that. And there's also this, I've become more and more troubled kind of by the blending of art and politics and culture. And I feel like it's really weakened art. And I feel like it's really fucked with politics, like political movements. And so I'm kind of like on principle, like I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to like, it shouldn't be up to like dumb gay celebrities, to
get the word out
and for her. We should have like institutions that like actually support the kinds of politicians like Marquita who fight for like working people. So I was scared about it, but then I did this fundraiser, and that was, once I did the fundraiser for her, when I was like, oh, you actually can have fun with an online show. And it was just really, and I was like talking to her on the fundraiser, and I was just so blown away by her. It was like the actual contact with her that turned it around for me, where I was like, oh, I'm going to go like,
I'm going
to Nashville. I'm going to like go make a video. So
amazing. But I don't know. We are so in love with your creativity. And then during the election, when you sort of really honed in on Marquita's campaign, I don't know. We have no claim to you. We were super proud of you.
We just love you.
We love you
in that weird and awkward way. But the other thing we talk about, or have been talking about, for some time now, is the pivot that everyone's had to do. And I love this example of taking your creative skills. It's, yes, you added your celebrity to it, but really, more importantly, you added your production skills and your producing skills and applied them to political organizing and community organizing. I don't think that is necessarily a obvious jump for so many. I just want to say that because we have so many friends who are producers kind of waiting for gigs to start happening, and, so many people waiting. I'm like, ooh, what a great effing use of your talents.
Thank you. I really felt like I felt determined to make some, again, because like the time, like there wasn't much time. There was like basically a month between the fundraiser and the election. And so I knew that like it was very scary because I felt like I had very little time to make something that was could pierce through the noise of like all the kind of political content that we were all consuming every single day. And I really didn't trust anyone to not be like super cheesy about it. Like it's very hard to make political ads that aren't cheesy. And like I also didn't necessarily trust, like one thing that I learned in this, like just about campaigns and my involvement with them is like, even someone like Marquita, who's extremely progressive and is running this grassroots campaign, and we have all these examples, thank God now, Bernie Sanders, AOC, Charles Booker, and on, of these like kind of successful grassroots campaigns that came out of nowhere. Like there's still, that has yet to be kind of institutionalized. Like her campaign staff, and they were amazing, but like they were for hire. You know, these are not people who like are lifelong organizers and stuff. And I kind of was like, I need to like, and this is insanely egotistical of me, but I was like, I need to get in there and make sure that like the messaging is correct. Because like I didn't necessarily, because she's too busy. They're very busy, but they're also like, I was like, I don't necessarily trust that they're kind of contextualizing her as the kind of progressive icon that she is. And particularly a progressive icon in the South. Like, that's why she's such an incredible opportunity, just like nationally. And so I felt a big kind of, I felt like I could do a good job of making it like beautiful and protecting her progressive values. Like, you know, I don't know. So yeah, that was yeah.
The storytelling is everything. And I love that you were like, wait, I can do this. I know how to do this. And, you know, center her in it and her values and make sure that's reflected.
Yeah.
So, well, John, do you want to use that officially as your SparkFile price of admission? This is your creative risk you've taken recently, or do you want to tell us another one?
Well,
that's a pretty.
I would like to use that as my risk, but I would like to focus in on particularly what the risk was.
Ooh, okay.
And I think it'll be very, not to control, but I think it'll be very generative.
By the end of this, you're producing this podcast.
Please.
Amazing. Great. I love it.
No, but I think I can, if I really narrow in on this particular quality of terror that I experienced making this, then I can, it can become like abstracted. We can universalize it and talk about other things.
Love it.
And then I think we have 15 minutes at the end where we can do some music. We can sing.
It'll be a wrap. We could recap this. We'll just recap what you did in Tennessee, and then we're good to go.
In folk songs.
So tell us. Let's hone in then. Okay. Tell us about that fear that you felt.
Well, I'm really curious to know if you've felt a similar fear in any of your work, Susan. I am very familiar with your work, especially in Title of Show, and like. I, immediately recognized you as like a deeply funny person. So I wonder if you can kind of commiserate with this, but like, there is something totally terrifying being a like comedian, or even just kind of being a funny person in the world who like, I kind of defined myself in, I think a lot of funny people define themselves in the negative. They define themselves in opposition to things, in response to things, especially in response to like hyper, like false sincerity or and so that's been my kind of like life's like work and my life's like struggle, which is like all like being an incredibly earnest, emphatic, enthusiastic person who also is like deeply troubled by like most expressions of sincerity. And so like, and it can often be very paralyzing. And so like there was something totally terrifying and even like psychologically just like disturbing. Like I knew that it had to be done. I knew that there was no point in kind of questioning my motives in doing it. But there's obviously like, it was really scary for me to be like, why am I swooping into this campaign? Like, she doesn't need my fucking help. Like, she knows exactly what she's doing. Like, what is this like kind of Hollywood like impulse of like, look at the celebrity, go look at Audrey Hepburn in Africa, you know, like with the children, like, you know, like there was, again, there was like no time to question it.
Yeah.
The world is too insane right
The
now.
work had to be done. Yeah.
There's no point. It's unproductive to kind of pick apart one's like motives or whatever. But it was obviously scary as like a deeply self-aware person with a platform, with a kind of comedic voice, an established comedic voice, to do something as earnest as make like a campaign video.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that really terrified me. And there were points where I was like literally having conversations with the campaign where I was like, and we won't, of course, publish that I did this. Like, you know, I was like, I don't think we should. And they literally were like, well, I think it kind of is great. And it makes it more of a story and maybe people will be more interested in it. And I, of course, it took nothing for me to be like, okay. You know, it was like, because I had worked hard and I wanted my, you know, so it was scary a little bit.
You know, I do relate to that. And I think, John, I do think that is vulnerable. It's like, feels like the definition of vulnerability to be like, so my performative persona is something more like this. And I'm going to risk dropping that for a moment to, you know, do something that I'm really passionate about. I think that is vulnerable, but I also feel like, to me, it just represents growth when you can be like, I'm going to take a swing and share some more dimensions. And I always have that other thing. I will, you know, I can always jump back to that other thing. But for me, when I started doing more, work that was like, my favorite is the combo platter. I love shit that is like really funny. And then it's sort of like, I am not afraid to take you down a dark road for a moment or more like, and then I'm going to like undercut it with a joke, like just that, like kind of like that playing with a chemistry set and sort of calibrating and tinkering. That's my favorite, is sort of the combo platter. And I think a lot of times it's easier for people to take information in if it goes in with a spoonful of sugar.
Totally.
But I'm stoked that you just fucking went for it. And you didn't have to be dressed as Vicky. Like you fucking went for it. I think it's great.
I think it officially admits you to the Spark File. I think you've qualified. Wow. That's what I think.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's an honor.
Listen, for those who don't know you as a political organizer, how do you identify yourself creatively? We're curious. Like when people say, what do you do? How do you answer that?
Well, I usually just say comedian because I feel like it's for some reason less embarrassing than being like an actor, writer. Like it feels less pretentious.
Actor, writer, director.
I guess I'm multi-hyphenate. That makes like it's, you know, it's much easier to be like, I'm a comedian. And also like it does actually feel true to me. Like even if I do other things, and even if there is like a bleeding heart part of me, it's like that's like your home base. Identify as a comedian for sure.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And for the noobs, what creative work are you most known for? Or another way of asking this is, what creative work are you proudest of?
Well, you know, they're often not the same.
That's right. That's right.
I would say I'm most known for Search Party, which I'm an actor on, and which I really am deeply proud of. I'm very, very proud of it.
Yes.
But
delicious.
I was scared of it because I was, you know, my like kind of crazily egotistical like path that I had laid out for myself creatively. It was always to kind of make my own work and make my
You're
own
an
stuff.
originator.
Yes. So that was scary for me a little bit.
That's interesting because a lot of people that we talked to started as interpretive artists, and really the big risk for them was moving into being originating artists. You actually have always been as long as I've known you, have been an originator, and then you took the spin into, I think you've always been a gifted interpretive artist as well, but I think it's interesting that it's like a reverse risk. I like
totally.
That.
Well, I mean, and also it kind of helped me accept that I maybe am an interpretive artist. Like, you know, not just like, it's not that I'm just that, but like, it did help me kind of relax the part of myself that needed to be some sort of like wonderkind.
An auteur.
Sure.
Yeah, like
Sure.
you know, I'm of a generation that's like very, you know, that grew up with like the promise of the Clintons, like you know, just like of like you will succeed, you will like you achieve your dreams, and there was this kind of, I think, expectation in my 20s for a lot of people. You know, for my generation when we were in our 20s, it was like there were like the Lena Dunhams of the world, and like
Right.
it was like yeah, the path. Everyone's goal is to become a showrunner at age 14, or you know, like to become like an auteur at age 14, and I think it's really, really nice to see people realize like, oh, also just the entertainment world has changed so dramatically in like 5 seconds, so it's like, and just but like. But I definitely had to. Search Party was a way where I was like, oh, I actually like interpreting. I really, really like acting. Like, I really like to kind of.
Yeah, but that writing is so fucking good. I bet it makes it a pleasure.
Yeah.
It's such a pleasure.
Yeah.
They're so
good. Do you find like it's hard at all to give up the control that you have with your own projects? You know, is that a shift you have to make mentally when you...
Are you really bossy when you're doing Search Party?
Yeah.
No,
you got a lot to say about it. You got a lot to say about it.
I am the
like
opposite.
This podcast.
Yeah, I've been very bossy so far.
Can I just give you a note on the podcast?
Are we doing notes? You can take this out, right?
Opener, though.
Actually, leave it in. No, I'm... the thing that I love about Search Party is I get to go to New York for like 3 months, and I love being in New York, and I eat like a king, and I like guzzle wine. I'm literally like, when I do Search Party, I have gout, which is not true, but I'm literally like, I just love that I can kind of, there's like 3 months out of the year where I'm not in control of my schedule, where I can kind of shut everything down, like, sorry, I'm doing this now. And I get to show up and do something. And I think the work, as much as it's bad for my body, the work is like benefits from me kind of not caring in a way. And I've found that I'm a better actor on things that I don't write. You know, like I'm much more like loosey-goosey.
I don't know.
Is that true?
It.
Really?
You feel more free? Like you feel freer in your performance?
Well, I think what it is that the things that I make.
Are you just drunk through the whole shoot?
Yeah, I'm absolutely tanked. No, the things that I make, I'm usually editing too. So I am confronted with. You
have that. Well, I always think of it like there's a tentacle that coming out from my neck, and attached to that tentacle is an eyeball, and the eyeball is watching me with such scrutiny because I know that I'm going to have to take it and cut it.
Exactly. Precisely.
Yeah. That's interesting. Is there anything else that you feel like you're super proud of that you want to shout out, or?
Well, the characters I'm very, very proud of, which you were involved in Lauren Lapkus's episode, as we all know. And
yes, all the people know.
Yeah, all the people the characters' heads, because that was such a successful show. But that was like a dream come true. Just like I had spent a few years developing, like just getting really invested in like kind of trying to figure out what my little like comedic persona was, and making these short films with my friends for free. And like, it was like this insane moment in like Netflix's history where they were like, let's try to be a little like avant-garde, or like, you know, and they did this, and then they just were like, you can do whatever you want. And like, it was like, oh, and like, I don't know, it just was a total dream. And I got to kind of weave together all these like favorite parts of my comedic voice, and it was a dream.
Can I ask you a character specific question? You should know that the remaining questions in this podcast are all just Laura and I getting to ask you all the things we want to ask you while we have the chance.
Oh my God, I'm absolutely thrilled.
Okay, so this is a deep cut, and if you haven't watched the characters, you might want to pause this podcast and go watch John Early's episode of the characters on Netflix. Okay, there is a moment and then
leave it running, and then leave it running and have it repeat.
And then leave it running. There is a moment in your episode where you're playing this sort of like, I don't know, like sort of this with all due respect, kind of this like oafish Christian character on a blind date. And, and you're having a meal with this very sweet girl who's trying to make conversation with you.
Yeah.
And in it, it sort of smash cuts to your character almost like going into a recovered memory or like, what is that? What was that?
What's that? Tell us.
That was, you know, what's funny about that? I wrote that like coming directly out of a breakup, like an extremely painful breakup. And not the characters, but that particular sketch.
Yes.
And I was like, and I remember kind of coming out of that breakup and feeling like so raw and being like, now is the time to like drop the mask and make something about your pain. And then I ended up, the only thing I wanted to make was like me as a straight dude. And I think it was like, I think it was about the fact that that is very much a part of me, which is like, I sometimes feel just like a fucking dumb fuck, like just a total, just like a puppy dog, you know? And I think it was very cathartic for me to like kind of like completely externalize what I like feel like I am in relationships or something. And then I think to me, I've always just, as I was writing it, I was like, it would be so funny. I mean, this was completely just, I didn't think about this at all. I just thought it'd be funny. And now looking back on it, I'm like, I think it's just, there is something interesting to me about these kind of like, you know, this is definitely retroactive. I want to be clear, but I do think it's really interesting though. You know, it's like, it's important to remember that the way we kind of like flatten and like portray like straight men, especially, like it's important to remember that they're like complex creatures with like their own emotional trauma. And like, I thought it would be really kind of sweet, but also in the moment, I think I thought it'd be more hilarious just like see this kind of idiot on a date and then just like to go quickly into like some sort of strange like sexual moment like in his like teenage years.
Yes.
Like and particularly a gay moment.
Yeah.
Like,
so here's
that's
thing,
kind of what he's hiding or something.
One of here's the thing I loved about it. And I know this is the part that you have this tendency, I have this tendency to like undercut it. But it makes it up to me. And this is, we're going to talk about this more because you can see it in all of your work. It makes it not just sort of like, here's an episode of a sketch show and here's some characters. Here's a bushel basket of characters I've put together. It is that. And it's also a piece of art. It's like a little piece of art because it's sort of like, what? Because it's not all like laid out for you. And I'm like, it gives it this crazy dimension and it's actually beautifully shot. So I don't know. It's one of the reasons and the way that lives in your other work as well, that I feel like I am drawn to your work consistently over the years. And this seems as good a time as any to say this. So just like a little bit of backstory. So I first met you via email when you, I think, were a little baby student at NYU, I think. Is that right?
Tiny little baby. Yeah.
A tiny little baby. And you emailed me a video that you had made. And I knew that you had made it for me because it actually, you said my name in the video.
Yeah,
it wasn't something that you had.
That old trick.
I actually tried to find your email in preparation for this today, and it's somewhere I'm sure it's somewhere on a Hotmail server. I don't know.
Yeah,
but you know, Laura and I get a lot because of the work we do. We get a lot of email from a lot of people who send us things they're making, and it's all great. That video was so fucking good. And it was like you doing a college orientation speech with the old trope of look to your right, look to your left. Yes. And I was like, who the fuck is this very special weirdo? And I was moved to respond to you very quickly.
Which completely...
Were you sending those videos all over town? Like it was,
and I had replaced the names each time. No. Do you remember why? Because it was your birthday.
And was it my 40th birthday?
I don't know, but it was something like there was some sort
I put
of
out a
thing.
call on my 40th birthday where I was like, don't
Exactly.
give me anything, make me something.
Yes.
It was that.
Oh,
And I
that's
was
what it
such
was.
an obsessive title of show fan. I had like seen it randomly my freshman year of college. Imagine coming into New York, a suitcase in
God.
hand,
oh.
and a suitcase full of dreams. But I
Patent
was
leather
like,
shoes.
yeah. But yeah, I was like, I saw the closing night a title of the show
On-
at Vineyard.
Oh my God.
wow.
Deep cut.
It was a complete accident. It was like my like crush that I had at the time like loved it and was like, you know, so I was like, oh, I gotta see it. And and I managed to get tickets like completely accidentally on the closing night, and I had no idea what I was walking into. And it was, of course, I walked into like a extremely emotional environment of like full of people who loved the show or
yes.
involved with the show.
Did you feel like you were at like
Yeah.
a band that like everybody loved and you were like, ugh? Like you
no,
got
I
taken
felt
to
like I was at like a funeral. Like it was
Oh.
like everyone I felt like was on edge, but it was all very
Yeah.
like it was a celebration. Like, but I
we're so happy to close.
Yeah. I was absolutely rocked. I was weeping. I was screaming, laughing. I
Oh.
could not. I mean, you have to understand. I had no idea what I was walking into, and it
How
was like
fun.
it was insane. And you guys were all crying, and it was like it was insane.
I
And
always
so
get retroactively embarrassed about that stuff because I'm like, I always think about who are the people sitting there watching it that are like, girl, you're not all that.
rein
Like,
it in.
dry your hot tears. You're not all that.
Yeah.
Those people that it wasn't for them. Oh,
Yeah.
Relax. Oy, oy, boy.
But yeah, I like from then on, I remember. I mean, I used to check the title of show website like literally every day.
Oh my
Like
God, Jeff Bowen needs to know that.
Oh my
It was
God.
He
psychotic.
obsessively worked on that site.
I don't know.
Really.
Just
That's-
updating the blogs. Well, thank Laura Camion. Laura Camion's the person who brought that show to the world. Thanks, Laura
Oh
Camion.
my God,
Yeah.
Laura.
Hey.
I bow to. I'm on my knees.
Well, thanks
Seriously.
for coming to the show.
Thanks
Oh
for
my
your
God.
support.
Thanks.
Thank you for all that kindness. But there were some other moments. So first that video came and I was
Oh,
like,
yes.
this is genius. No, it was just like, Hunter Bell says hi. I was actually talking
I
to him
love
today.
Hunter.
But he said that you had emailed him, so I guess you were writing to all the girls.
Psycho.
But
No.
you invited us, but certainly I was unable to attend. But he went to see you in a show that you did at NYU, and was like, in school it was so clear, like your talent was so clear and fully formed even then. But then there were these moments that I have bumped into, these little pieces of you and your work that I still like every single time afresh. I'm just like, yes. So I was on a different episode of The Characters, and I was in hair and makeup, and I like looked to my left and there's a wig on a wig stand. And I was like, oh, it was sort of like a Kate Gosselin. What was that lady's
Exactly,
name?
Kate
John and
Gosselin.
Clay plus
Yes.
8. Like a baby chick in the back and then bangs in the
Yes.
front. And I was like, what is that? And who is that for? And the hair and makeup people were like, oh, it's for John Early's episode. And I was like, oh my God, a fucking wig. A wig had me undone.
Oh my God.
Other hits of yours. Sorry, just sit and take this. Would you?
Honey, asshole wide open.
Okay.
Poppers are out.
That's right. Fully dilated. Years ago, you know what? We should post this when we post this episode, because oh my God. I showed it to Camion because I was like, Camion, I just
I'm
want you to take
obsessed.
some spoonfuls of this. I was like, this is a video
can't
that
get
John
enough.
Early made years ago with the Cocoon Central Dance Team
Uh-huh.
for a show you guys were doing at Ars Nova. And I'm honest with you, Hunter Bell does this, I do this, and now
And
Laura
I will now
Camion does
do
it.
this as well.
About once a year, we put on that video and just we'll watch it like 3 times in a row because it's so fucking satisfying. It's so good. It's just like
Wait,
everything you make
is it
is so pleasing to us.
Is it with the animated background?
yes.
It has that.
And
It's
the black
very
eye.
like green 90s squiggle vision animated background, and you have a black eye that turns into like a bejeweled black eye,
and the music's so mellow, like it's
and the dancing is so
mellow.
hot. It's so good.
It truly thrills me that you love that video. Truly.
I love that this is just becoming a clip reel of your greatest hits. But here's a question, and this is for nobody but me.
Good.
Have we ever met in person? Like ever like in the lobby at Joe's Pub or at a Cola Scola Jeffrey Self show or anywhere?
I am pretty sure we have met in person, but I don't think it was like long enough for either of us to remember. But I'm pretty sure we met. There was some sort of crossover on the characters. Like, because those were all shot out of sequence that like every episode was shooting at the same time. And I'm pretty sure I had a moment of being like, Susan? And like a touching in and being like, I made that video for you and you knew. I mean, there's
maybe
also,
had the wig on.
I may have had the wig on.
Wish.
I also somehow, I mean, the common theme, the fact that I was emailing you and Hunter, it's psychotic. But like, I definitely went to the closing night of Broadway too, title of show.
Oh,
fuck.
Wow.
I just bought tickets.
You just like to see everyone cry.
Exactly.
We were
I'm a
crying
sicko.
again the last night.
But that was, you know, Ali Stroker from Oklahoma?
Of course. Yeah.
I brought Ali Stroker.
Wow.
She had never seen it. And
I
we
love it.
Yeah. And we were
it's
like
funny
sobbing.
when I've spent time with Ali She's never mentioned.
She's not mentioned it.
Let me talk to her. Let me talk to her first.
Interesting.
That's awkward.
Just
I'm pretty sure I met you there. I don't know.
Interesting. I was talking with Michael R. Jackson last week.
Much.
And he was saying, yes, Pulitzer Prize winner for A Strange Loop, friend of the pod. And he was saying how you appeared in a piece he wrote when you were both students at NYU, and Ali Stroker was in it, and lots of other great people. Star-studded.
That's how I met Ali. And I was completely nude.
He didn't mention.
I'm honestly shocked he didn't mention it's
we were on a very
noteworthy. That's very noteworthy.
It was a very dignified panel.
Okay.
I was moderating a very dignified panel. He didn't see fit to bring it up. Yeah.
Hey, another thing, just to add to this growing list of things. So when you first got onto this recording tonight, we were in the midst of discussing another thing we effing love that you've made, and that is that short film called Rachel. We are obsessed and now need to know. This is what we were talking about, your face at the end of it when you joined us. And then he's like, hi, it's John's here. So we were like awkwardly embarrassed. But so to back it up, yeah. Do you want to give our listeners a description of what the short film Rachel is about?
Okay, well, Rachel is, let me just contextualize it creatively again to like exert control of the podcast.
I handed
Rachel,
it over.
Rachel came at a time, and I mean, she literally like, you know, popped into my life, the real Rachel. She came at a time where Kate Berlant and I, my like chief collaborator, we were in just development hell. We had like gone through 16 losses in a row with this like show we made together.
Oh shit.
And yeah, it sucks. And we were like, oh cool. Well, we like looked up, we're like, we haven't made anything in 3 years. And so we were just desperate to make something that wasn't beholden to like the development hell.
Yep.
And like, and still are, by the way. But like this girl's true story. I just moved to LA. I did a show. I did a stand-up show, and like a bunch of my friends happened to be at that show, and I was like, you guys should come over. And I brought like 8 friends over, and like I would say like 5 of those friends were my friends, and 3 of those people were people that knew those friends. It was a very intimate but fun kind of spontaneous gathering. And we like were drunk. We were ordering food, whatever. And like, there was this one girl there who literally, I was like, well, I don't know her, but I assume she came in with my friend Ellen, who I kind of barely know, you know, like it was just, and we started, and like in the short, okay, we'll get there. Basically in real life, we all started to piece together, like in my kitchen, already drunk. we all started to piece together. We're like whispering. We're like, do you know her? And like we were
Oh my
just
God.
we realized everyone assumed that she was a friend of a friend, and we were like process of elimination. We're like, well, it's not my friend. It's not my friend. It's not my friend. And then
Oh my
literally,
God. It's like a fucking murder mystery.
it was so chilling. And then my friend Sam was like, well, she has to leave. And I am such a little Southern boy terrified of confrontation. I was like, no. And he was like, what are you talking about? Like, we have to kick her out. And I was like, it's fine. Like, I was willing to let this person who intruded into my house, like, and so then he took over and he kicked her out. And like, she was extremely defensive in a way that was like deeply comedic, like, but also very disturbing. And it was a really kind of scary experience because she started talking about like a band, like music she was hearing and how she followed the music to my house. And like, it was like, it was, and what was so crazy is like, she was so kind of, she fooled us all because she was
like
so
reasonable.
Kind of, she was like, she took her shoes off and she like hopped on the couch and she was like truly talking to my friend Aaron, being like, are you a dancer? Like literally kept insisting that my friend Aaron was a dancer. And like, it was crazy. She seemed like a just kind of LA girl, like who loves candles.
It's just like Margot Kidder waking up in your bed or something. Just like somebody having a psychotic break and having it at your house.
Yes. And so then we like basically I told Kate about it the next day, and Andy, her boyfriend, who we make a lot of stuff together, the three of us.
Andy directed that is her boyfriend?
Yeah.
My God, what a power couple.
I know.
Fuck.
I know.
They're so talented.
I know. And but so I was basically like, you guys, we got to make this a short. And Kate was born to play Rachel. It's exactly her sensibility. And so we got all of our friends there, like non-actors, basically everyone who was there plus my boyfriend. We added him in the mix because he had just moved in with me. And so we were like really kind of committed to making the short in the way that I used to make shorts, which was like, bring all your friends over.
It is
volunteer.
A beautifully made film.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's
so
really
good.
well done. So it hews pretty closely to the events of the night. Like I was like, she couldn't have possibly been like the band. Like there's some things that she says that you're just like, no, that couldn't have possibly been real life, but it seems like it hews pretty closely, except at the end when it turns into a ghost story.
When she's just gone. Yes, that did not happen.
Spoilers.
She actually did leave the room.
Even
the way
that was shot was so masterfully done. Oh my God, that was amazing.
She did go to the bathroom. Claiming to look for her purse. Like she literally,
I was like, she's going to steal your pills. That's where my mind went. Yeah.
And that's what actually happened to us, where she was like, Sam had spent, and by the way, we blocked it exactly how it happened. Like Aaron was sitting in that spot on the couch.
Camion wins the bet.
Yep.
And she was in the door frame, like it happens in the short, and Sam was right behind the couch. And so we fully recreated it. And then like, basically, after like a probably 20-minute confrontation with her, where she was like being extremely defensive and like not, and like kind of making us feel like losers for not being like open to her chilling with us, which was like so fucking funny. She literally was like about to, and she's like, oh my God, my purse. And then she went into the bathroom and we were like all kind of trapped in the living room, kind of like, well, at this point, this is a crazy person and I'm letting her like go into my bathroom, like
where there's razors and pills.
Exactly.
Oh my
great
God.
idea.
Oh my God.
And then she, thank God, came out and left. But like we decided to end the show with her.
Did she leave with your sweater on?
That is not.
Okay. That's a genius addition, because I was like obsessed with, is she going to give that sweater back? That is John's sweater and she needs to take it off. Is someone going to call her out? I fucking loved that.
Okay, so question. At the very end of the film, I love that we're doing a hot 15 minutes on this film. This conversation is longer. This film is so good, y'all. Pause this and go watch that film. At the very end, there is a tiny slice of what I believe is the actual footage taken that night. One of your friends, who I think is also in the film, pulled out their cell phone and was started to video the confrontation. And there's a teeny tiny sliver.
Yep.
This is what Camion and I were betting on. is
when you joined us.
When the camera passes over, is Rachel the woman with her back to the camera?
Yep.
You don't show her face.
We don't show her face, but also we don't have any footage of her face. That is literally
because
that is
the camera
length
could
of
not
the footage
pick up
we
her
have.
image because she's a ghost.
Yes. No, but that's all we had of it.
Oh
And
my
so-
God.
Love that film.
Amazing.
Thank you. Thank
So
you.
good.
Hey, in the course of telling that, you touched on something that we're completely obsessed with. So I'm gonna jump to this question that I want to hear you talk about, and that is processing creative failure. Can you talk about one of the biggest like perceived failures or challenges that you mentioned having, and how do you process through it? Because everyone has it.
Totally. Well, yeah, so Kate Berlant and I this was definitely the biggest one. This was the most painful one.
Yeah.
We made this pilot. We had always wanted to make a kind of ab-fabby, like really classic friendship show.
Perfect.
And it was like, it was called This Is Heaven, which is, I'm so deeply proud of that title. And it was basically us trying to make a kind of like, trying to like build a like we have a very kind of gestural friendship. We met and it was like love at first sight, and we were like, we've kind of been mythologizing our friendship ever since we became friends. And we're like,
sure.
So like it was about kind of we tried to make a show about this kind of inseparable, like this refusal to part. And also we were very excited to make something that was like a gay guy and a straight girl, but it wasn't like caustic. It was like full of love. It was like deeply romantic. And then we also just wanted to do something that was like kind of like Ab Fab, just like kind of like beautiful and colorful, like Almodovar, like really like just like candy and like Romeo and Michelle, and like and full of these kind of like sketchy, like just really simple premises of like us hosting a dinner party, like us going to a middle school musical, just like, and so it really, we set out to make something that was kind of the most pure expression of our friendship and ourselves and our like worldview. And because of that level, it wasn't just like, oh, here's a situation that works. Kate's a clerk and I'm her boss. It's like, it was much more kind of personal, and like it was also much more kind of like open-hearted than stuff we had made. It was like very kind of bright-eyed and innocent, and so when it didn't work out, it was like particularly crushing. But yeah, we just had like it like moved to a million different places, so we had to experience the failure like 3 or 4 times, and and it was just like the final one. And also, after you experience it multiple times, you get in this mode where you're like, well, it can keep being opened up again.
Right.
And like the final time when I had my like managers calling me, like being like, it's over. Like, and I was like, I was such a wreck. I never thought I would react that way to like a professional thing. But I was like, really, like I wasn't sleeping for like a month. I was like just getting up in the middle of the night and like weeping on the couch. Like,
just even the words you use to describe how much of yourselves you put into that, like that it does become deeply personal.
It was very personal. And it was also like, we were setting out to make something that was like the opposite of what we were seeing. We were trying to make something that was like wartime, like for the Trump era, like wartime entertainment, like classic, silly, warm. Yes. But like, so it just was like, it really felt like they were like stomping on our hearts. And like, it was, how did we deal with it? I mean, we like, it's crazy what you'll do. I mean, it is true grief. Like there was like manic denial where we were like, literally the next day we're like, oh my God, we haven't even better idea. Like we were like we called our manager. We were like, we cracked it. We're actually glad it got passed on. And he was like, he like was really sweet and listening to us. Like, okay, like, sure, because like part of this, you'll die. Like part of what the issue was, like everyone was always so worried that it was too rarefied, that it was like the language was too like dense, and that it was too like, which is like very us, like we're posturing, the characters are posturing,
Yeah.
but like it was always like people thought like it was too like narrow of a kind of like sensibility or something, which is so fucking dumb. And that, but like, so we literally the next day, and I'm not kidding, the next day we were like, her parents are coal miners. we were like, so it's this whole, we can maintain the sensibility, but they're keeping the sensibility alive as a response to their kind of rural coal miner town.
Oh my God.
And our manager was like looking at us like we were fucking crazy.
Sweetie, it's done.
Over.
It's done.
Stage 2. What's after denial?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So there was the manic denial, and then there was like the anger came in very quickly. And like, I am not proud of some like interviews I did where I was like, and where I was very quick to like, and I think that some of this, I think there's truth in this. I don't think it's as simple as this, but I do think that people have a very limited imagination when it comes to like gay characters and gay friendship, like like female, like woman, gay guy friendships. Like I think that people wanted something more recognizable and like kind of like me on Grindr and her being like, honey, no, like. I think that's what they were expecting from us, and they got something much more kind of like campy and anti-mame, honestly. And I think they were like terrified of it. And so I do think that's true, but I literally was like on Twitter and I was like, just call me a faggot. Like I was so angry. Like I was like, just go ahead and call me a faggot. Like, and I was like giving all these interviews where I was talking about like, yeah, these idiots, these executives, and it was like, that is something I'm not proud of, because I also think there were things that were definitely that I can only now see some like really like pivotal flaws that like that are so obvious that I like thank God have now learned from. But like I literally was so blinded by love and like passion that I could not see them then.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. And I feel like you sort of answered this earlier, but as a result of all of that, you looked in each other's eyes and you were like, we have to get back to making something that is not like going to be put through this meat grinder process of approvals.
Exactly.
And that's how you came to make Rachel.
Yeah. And we wanted to make something that felt less like belabored, just like, or labored. I don't know. I love to add a betrothed. But like, it was really nice to like, just to be like, oh, this fucking crazy thing just happened to me. Let's get everyone who is there to my house. Let's get drunk and see what happens. And like, it was really sweet.
The thing that Laura referred to earlier that I didn't want to lose the thread of is when you show the slice of footage at the very end, we've got on line together, opened up the video and paused it on your face.
Oh, I was going to bring this up.
Fucking face. Your face. You are so uncomfortable, and the way it's manifesting on your face is amazing.
Well, that is the Easter egg within the Easter egg, which is that I am literally unable to look up from the computer. And I have a smile plastered across. I'm smiling ear to ear.
It's insane.
Oh my God.
I was so scared, and I decided to just commit to like pretending to order food.
That's the new home screen on my phone. It's just like a screen capture of your face. Oh my God, it's so good. John, God. We know that we don't have you much longer, so we're going to ask you some quickies. We're just going to ask you some rapid fires. Here we go. Ready? Is there a creative thing you need to do before you're done?
Is that a euphemism for before I croak?
Yeah. Or before you come. Is there a creative thing you need to do before you're done?
Yes. I would like to make a kind of I would like to make a movie or a TV show or miniseries that is like that aspires to be like something that I like on the level of the things that I love, a la The Comeback, Enlightened, that have that exact kind of thing that you were talking about of the funny, and then like guts you and like that. that's everything I aspire to do, is like just something like that. And
So like a glee, like a glee.
Exactly.
I love that. And I was hoping that you would say, like, I feel like you, a longer form film, starring, directing, writing. I feel like
That's gonna happen.
your aesthetic, you have it all. Godspeed to you. Okay.
Thank you.
Next question.
John, you've been in the creative business for a while. Give us some good creative advice.
Ooh. Well, okay. This is always my advice when I give these talks at schools. I'm kidding. I do give talks. You do. You guys do.
Mock me if you like.
And we're going to tell them exactly what you say now.
So make it good.
Oh, shit. Well, I always just, I think creative people, it is your like duty to, and you heard the liquid you.
Liquid you, baby.
And I heard you use one right at the up top, Susan. I feel very like this may not be true for everyone, but I think usually people who kind of desire to be creative or like, it's because there's something that you do already naturally in your life. It's not like you're not like crazy. It's not out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like you probably already have an instinct. There's probably something you do with your closest friends. There's probably,
Yeah.
and I think I can't speak for everyone, but for me, it was very important to me early on to like, basically kind of reverse engineer the stuff that I loved. Like I would, like I could see like in Eastbound and Down or The Comeback or Enlightened, like they were built around these performers who had this like really beautiful, like sweet spot, comedically.
Yeah.
But there was also this like interest on their part and on the writers and on the, people making the show, like an interest in like contextualizing that in a kind of a grand, like psychological way. And like, that was like, to me, that's always been my like starting point, is like, what is the thing that I do without any thought? Like, what's the thing that I do when I'm like making my friends laugh at a dinner party,
That's
like,
right.
Yeah.
and like, what's the thing that I'm most comfortable doing? And like, what's my little sweet spot? And then how can I from there create a world that like supports that sweet spot? What does that person look like?
Yeah.
And what do they do? And, and what is the kind of perfect dramatic structure that will like heighten that sweet spot? And like, so that's, I think it's like always just like build your stuff, build your narrative. If you want to be in it, at least, if you're trying to build something around you as a performer, but I'm sure this can be, extrapolated, for other disciplines.
I agree.
Like start with the thing that you already do. Like start with the thing that is like, that brings you joy.
Start
the thing
with
that
you.
it just feels flowing and easy and you love it, and then work backwards from there.
Exactly.
So smart.
That's good.
Don, you work really fucking hard as far as we can tell. The question is, what's it all for?
Oh man, what is it all for? I don't stop to think about that a lot, which is, I guess, the point of asking the question. I have to go. I'm kidding.
I have a hard stop.
What is it all for? I mean, I think that answer is like changing by the minute. I bet. It's all been pretty kind of compulsive and instinctual for me my whole life. I'm lucky enough to like have grown up with enough kind of support to not spend too much time questioning why I'm doing it or doubting it, So, but I think more and more I am like convinced that just, I don't know, I'm looking around at my generation and I just think we're all just being kind of bludgeoned by Twitter and by the state of the world. And I'm fully like strapped to my phone completely, but I think I feel like a boomer saying this, but we're all just becoming less smart, and we have fewer and fewer people in the culture to like there aren't like great public intellectuals. Like there aren't like, like there's no people aren't like fucking like, I don't know, like when I read a book like once every 6 years, I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, oh, this is what we're meant to be doing. Like your brain is actually meant to be like pulled in one direction and like, and not to be so like, you're not meant to be this like atomized and refracted as we all are now. So I think now what we do it all for is like to give people a break from like the hellscape of like capitalism, you know, just to like give people like, truly, this is what I believe. And I'm arriving at this in the moment. So I apologize for the long-winded answer.
Love it.
Take your time. Long way to grandma's house, but it's worth it.
I know, here we go.
Yep, we're with you.
Here come grandma's cookies. But the reason we do it, gang, is because there are so few examples in the world of people doing things not for money. Like it's just every single authentic expression gets immediately commodified by capitalism. And so there has to be like, this is, to me, this is the new like goal for all artists. It's like, if you really, really fucking mean it, it's like, you have to find a way to make things that don't immediately get absorbed and commodified by capitalism. And like, you have to find a way to like resist, like try to take money. What would you make if money weren't an issue? But of course that's impossible, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. You just have to,
money's not on the way.
Yeah.
What do you want to make anyway?
Exactly. And that's the stuff I made when I was younger. I made stuff that had nothing to do with like some sort of financial model that would one day like, you know, pay off or pay a mortgage. It's like, I that's what I used to do. And I'm trying to kind of, you know, get back to that, not even out of some like, just because I just keep looking up and I'm like, oh, no one's making these choices, because why would you? It's so easy to just give over to the running like raging waters of capitalism.
That's a good what's it all for.
That was a good one.
Okay. Well, I know we have to get you out of here, but before I forget, do you remember when you were filming? I'm so obsessed with this fucking film. When you were filming Rachel, where did Kate go when she disappears? And do you know what I mean? Like, where did Kate's body, how did she do it? How did she get behind the camera or get out of the way? Or did she sneak out when she's supposedly in the bathroom? How did the actor... That's such a good question.
So there was a door that
there's a trap door in the floor that we cut into my house.
That my dad built. No, okay, there was a door that we avoided shooting. So she went, so the apartment was actually like a donut. Like you really can do a full circle.
Yeah.
And so you go through the bathroom, into the bedroom, and then into this little back room that has a door to the outside. And we avoided shooting that door. So like, she went into the bathroom and then quietly tiptoed out and went outside and hid behind that door.
Oh my
and
God.
then
Amazing.
Would you please send our just infatuated love to Andrew and Kate and all the people that made that beautiful piece of art?
I really will. I really will.
Okay. And now back on track. Finally, here's the last question.
Okay.
What or who is sparking you these days?
Ooh. Well, the big one, and this is the major spark. Like this has started a kind of, like it's there's nothing better. Am I right, ladies? Than when you're like, then when you finally are kind of like taken outside of yourself with like an obsession of an artist, you know, like
nothing better.
Like I was very late to John Waters, like, and that was like a 3-year period of like, I'm devoted my life to him. It's all I thought about or talked about, you know. And I haven't had that in a while because I have by trade like had to be kind of focused on myself.
Sure.
And so like the recent thing for me has been Deborah Eisenberg, who is the fucking best. She's Wallace Shawn's longtime girlfriend.
Yeah.
And she is a short story writer. And I became obsessed with her because my friend Theta is obsessed with Wallace Shawn, and I produced a production of Marie and Bruce that Theta played Marie.
Yeah.
And Wallace Shawn and Deborah Eisenberg came to the goddamn show,
Awesome.
and
Just shitting yourself.
just absolutely shitting myself. And they fucking like loved it. And it was like, and they wrote us emails. It was like the sweetest thing in the world. And then Wally and Deborah both did Search Party season 3. And so I got to spend,
my God.
yeah, I got to spend like 2 days on set with Deborah. And I just fell madly in love with her. And then so I started obsessively reading her work. And I knew Wallace Shawn already was very much in my like language. Like there's like, he's definitely kind of into writing about like well-meaning liberals who are like, as like the world is like falling apart, but they're like, you know, in denial of that, you know, whatever. And like, and Deborah, what I was really excited to realize, like that is why they're in love. It's like they both kind of write about the same kind of person, and it's very much overlaps with like what me and Kate love, what I love, you know. And so she has like just completely blown my mind, and I've been reading her, and I read all of her shit over quarantine, and then I like started reading stuff that she has written forwards or afterwards for like. I've just been letting her be my guide to like becoming like into books again, which has been so goddamn nice. You will die. You have to read her.
Okay.
Thank you. That's a great spark.
Totally.
Yeah.
We'll take that spark.
Yes.
Thank you.
She's the best.
Oh, John Early. I know we have to go, but we want to say thank you so much. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. It was an honor to be here, and I've talked so much. I'm so sorry.
That is it. This episode of The Spark File was made on Muncie, Lenape, and Seminole land, and we hope that it put another bunch of sparks in your file. Listen to the sound of my voice when I say, if there is a spark that you'd like us to explore, or if you've taken a spark and you fanned it into a creative flame and you'd like to share that, we hope you'll email us at thesparkfile@gmail.com or submit it through our fancy website, thesparkfile.com.
We will even happily take your feedback. But you know the price of admission. First, you have to share a creative risk that you have taken recently.
And be sure to subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe, rate, 5-star review it. If you like this podcast, we hope that you'll share it with people that you love. And if you didn't like it, I don't know. John, what do you say to your critics?
What do I say to my critics? I mean, this is the big growing edge for me, is I've got to be more open to criticism.
Oh.
So listen, there is a certain kind of criticism. I would say criticism among collaborators in relationships, family. That's where I got to be more open. But I guess like the hostile Twitter critics, I say, may you burn.
Yes.
Simple.
May you burn.
Thanks, John. If something tickles your fancy and gets your creative juices flowing, we are writing you a forever permission slip to make that thing that's been knocking at your door. It's your turn to take a spark and fan it into a flame.
You got to take it
and make it.
Bye. John Early.
Thank you guys. There was some Java in there. I was really.
When I bump into something that inspires me, I dump it in my spark file. Could be something that I want to make or how I want to be. I pump it in my spark file. I jump into my spark file. Let's open up the spark file.
Hi, friends. Susan Blackwell from the Spark File here to let you know that the doors are open for the Spark File Illume, a 9-month group creativity coaching mastermind that invites you to be the Chief Creative Officer and Chief Marketing Officer of your creativity. But what does that mean? That means in 9 months in Illume, you will clarify and advance your big creative goals and learn how to effectively share your work with the world. Now, if you're listening to this and you're an experienced creative or an accomplished professional who seeks a space where it is safe to attempt something you've never tried before, or complete a big creative project, or take your work to the next level and acquire the skills needed to share your creative work with the world, Illume might be right for you. We are calling in emotionally intelligent, high-functioning creatives who are ready to level up. You can find out more by going to thesparkfile.com/Illume, but do it now to find out if Illume is right for you and to save with early bird discounts. That's thesparkfile.com/Illume. Take a leap, take a risk. Go to thesparkfile.com/Illume and join us for Illume.